I would love to.
Okay. Guys want any Roseburg?
Yes.
Yes.
He do. So, yeah.
Yeah, Karen called me up today. Apparently, he was sort of okay on Friday, right? Just start going down.
Yes.
Yeah. And Karen's niece, Salida, and he, by Saturday, they still 20 minutes. So did you send out an email about plugging in the Christmas tree? Or there? Somebody sent out an email about.
Yeah. What's going on, gents? All right. Yeah, handle it later, 5 pieces.
What's it called, the kid out here?
Oh, I have. I'll turn the car on.
I do too, but it hasn't been, I haven't really even been checking it, it hasn't.
I am,
been-
yeah.
Yeah. Seems like it is. What was I remember up to the 28th club?
Yeah.
And then the lake had 31, I think.
Mhm.
below. Well, I guess we get to sit in the peanut gallery.
Yes, I think so.
Chris should be here.
We thought we'd support the planning commission.
Oh, that's very nice. If, but if Chris is here, even if he's not here, we still have a quorum. We have Bob and John on Zoom, yeah.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi, Bob.
It's Barbarino.
Wherever you want. Yeah, just so it doesn't block, but it doesn't look like any of those, you could sit anywhere and it wouldn't block the camera, it looks like.
Hmm.
Unless you sit right in front of it.
Didn't realize you.
Hi, sir. Did you sign in for me?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Thank you.
I'm
Great.
such a good boy.
You are.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's showing up. All right.
It's like a bad habit. Yeah, shake the loser off the finger.
That's it. So how the new bugs doing in the cold weather? They still munching away?
They're happy as clams.
Probably no ice on
How
the
are
ponds
you?
yet, right?
The first pond, the smallest pond's completely froze over.
Oh,
The two big ones still are.
3 minutes.
Usually by the middle of January, they're, other than the.
It's busy cruise.
Water's coming in and out,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're froze.
I like that sweater, Kristen. I think that looks warm and comfy.
Did we try to reach out to the alternate and see if we wanted to come? What?
I can't,
I
I
can picture
emailed
her.
her.
Okay, this is.
It's Leslie, Leslie
Leslie
Parks. I
Parks, yes.
tried to email her. I don't have her phone number, so.
Really, what I was gonna do is go over there and steal my chair and bring it over here.
No, you're just a dweeb.
No.
Yep. Oh.
So what I sent you last night, did that, or last time, did that look good? The
Yep.
revision of that? Good. All right, we'll be
Yeah.
speaking on that.
The baby's watching too, eh?
Apparently.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi,
Oh, man,
I got my eyes on you.
that's what I'm afraid of.
That's no, it's Clearwater Refinery.
I got, no, I've got my mind set on you, right?
Yeah.
I've got mine set, that's not Credence though.
Oh,
No.
Mine's set on you, that's, yeah, it's not CCR.
CCR.
Okay, we're all admitting our age.
Yeah,
Yeah, since I'm
You
pretty sure
guys
that
are,
was
I just
like,
like old music.
Clearly.
Yeah. She's in the first step.
I can call him. Can we call
I got some
He's
of the best
singing
music
here,
from
so-
the thirties. Hear people's individual voices. No studio stuff. That's even before my time.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
maybe he's on his way.
There he is.
Just wait.
3 o'clock in Wyoming.
That's all that matters.
Chris is just walking in, so we'll just wait till he gets here before we start the meeting.
Hi, Chris.
So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If everyone wants to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Patterson? Here. Mr. Lynn? Mr. Van Dorn?
Here?
Mr. Fulton?
Here,
Name off the
Just
people.
missing Paul.
Paul, that's right, I'm sorry, Miss Ann, Paul Winkie is absent. Is there something? Okay.
So, we'll recognize the visitors. We'll start over here with you, Dave, and just state your name and physical address.
Dave Schneider, General Manager, Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District.
Mark Demboski. Board of Trustees, just here as a citizen.
Randy Wilhelm, ditto.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
yes,
Anyone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes. Bob,
It's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye,
Aye.
Carries. We do not have any old business, so we'll move to new business. Item A is consideration of a request to rezone Vivienda Parquet from residential to CD1.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, I can start that if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, in the beginning, I guess I'll say last year, beginning of maybe mid 2023, kind of looked through a lot of our zoning and saw what was off and maybe some things that, could use some updating. And one of those was Viviana Parquet. If you guys look in your packets, actually, there is a few, starting with page 8 out of 100, the articles of dissolution. So, and it starts there at page 8, and if you go to page 10, you can see the confirmation there on the state's website. So Viviana Parquet or La Vista Hills voluntarily dissolved, on August 22nd, 2023. And the covenants that go along with it. So we kind of have to ask ourselves, what are these lots doing here? So I went through and saw the current uses of these commercial lots as well as residential lots and decided to put some zoning on it that would fit it. Now, the zoning that was intended for the entirety of Viviana Parquet was originally going to be residential single family district. So that was the original intent. After some time and these lots starting to get developed, they kind of turned into some commercial, some residential. So now we're sitting here with mixed use where it was supposed to be residential. 20 years later from the dissolution with these lots that should probably be rezoned at some point. Now, considering the holiday season, I really just have this formatted as a discussion. So maybe, by next year, if you guys like, we can start to throw out some public hearings to get this rezoned. But I do think it is important that we go through, talk about these lots, because I do think it is a responsibility of the planning commission to either rezone or give these lots, I guess you could say, the correct zoning. If you let me one more second to explain in depth, we already talked about some of the zoning before earlier in this year. There's a few different zones. So this would be a in bulk rezoning. This would be probably one of our biggest meetings that we've ever had as far as rezoning goes. We have to send letters out to everybody in these lots, as well as those within 200 feet that would be affected by that, and go through our ordinary public hearing process. Some of it's going to be residential, some of it's going to be commercial, and some would be multifamily. So with that, if you go to page 16, you can kind of get a feel on everything. But that's what I have for you guys. And Ms. Chair, what would you think about this?
I mean, I would personally like to, I guess my biggest thing always, as always, is I don't want to take away people's rights. I don't know how many of these lots are sold or how many times they've sold since the dissolution of their association or whatever it is. So I guess I would just want to make sure that things are staying as close to the same as what they were when Viviana Parquet started, so that people that maybe bought property back in the 90s or early 2000s are not all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, there's a big commercial business setting up next door and I thought that was supposed to be residential. So, but I'm fine with this if everybody else is fine with it.
Yes.
I think at this point, being 20 years after the fact, 21 years, it's just kind of created a mess for itself. It's time to clean it up. One way or another, it's time to clean it up. So, now the areas that are marked in blue, that's primarily what we're discussing about as being CD1.
Yeah, on that map, just to explain a little bit, on that map.
Caleb, do you want to, I'll make you host, do you want to put?
Absolutely. Oh, that'd be great.
That might be.
Let me,
Trying to figure out.
well, hold on, I gotta join the Zoom call here for a second. Okay, give me 1 second so I can do that. That link's on the calendar, right?
Yes.
At this point, it's kind of going, at least the area that's in blue is kind of going commercial anyway,
It's always kind of been that way.
Mhm.
you know, so.
Did you find it? What's your, tell me your email, and I'll just email it to you.
Town manager TWC2@gmail.com.
The section that's purple outlined, the B,
Manager, tell me the last part.
Town manager TWC2@gmail.com.
Okay.
No, please speak over us. This is your meeting. We're here to help you.
no, speak over us. Nice and sarcastic, I appreciate it.
No, I didn't mean that. I really didn't mean that. I was being sincere.
Well, I guess it can wait for that to come up on the screen for.
Gosh, I didn't realize I was sarcastic. Oh, God.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Right.
Sorry, everybody, for the wait.
It's the internet so slow.
Yeah, I got like 2 bars out of maybe 4 on my Wi-Fi. Awesome.
Okay. I'm gonna make a post.
Recording in progress.
Let me know when you make me host.
Your host.
Someone's gotta turn some volume off or something.
Got it, did it. And- Okay. All right, here we go. Let's zoom out maybe one more so we can see this entire map. I don't think it's gonna let me zoom out. Okay. I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay. So, the B is part of Vivian to Parkgate as well, or just the blue outline?
So all of this is Vivian and Parking. All the orange, little slat lots are all Vivian and Parking.
So the orange ones, those are already residential,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
The R lockout is just the empty lot. And
Maybe,
I thought R is where the condos are.
the condos are on just the south side of that R.
yeah, so to explain this a little better, this is gonna be a rezoning, and I'm just gonna call it rezoning, because some of it is rezoning, some of it is just giving the zoning a name that's already been there. So all the red you see, it's already residential single family and has been used as residential single family. So we'll still have to list that out, if and when we ever pass ordinance. The condos I left out. The reason is because those are technically still a plan unit development, and they have their own covenants. So that's being left out, and that's still gonna be a PUD on the map. The R,
Which is.
Just below the R.
Are you talking about this? Whoa, spider.
I didn't know if that
Are
was
you talking about
a
these
mouse
right
or
here?
something
Are you talking
earlier.
about the
right where that,
condos here?
yeah, right where that little mouse, right where you pointed last.
Okay.
The R and the B, those are just references to the lot. That's what I had to research and found on our old maps. So the B and the R is just naming those lots. The blue, we would change into commercial district 1. That means it's not highway commercial nor core commercial, because it wouldn't fit either of those. It could fit highway commercial, some of it, but
Just,
yeah, I mean, the uses for
just
that,
the lot K,
yeah.
technically.
And Lot K right now is a real estate office, so it could fit in either. Our purple lots though, here is outlined purple. The R and the B, Alpha and Bravo, I am recommending that we turn into multi-family. Now, that is solely up to you guys to recommend to the board. I know that this lot A was going to be at some point a sporting goods store, so that's where they sit right now. Any discussion on those?
Yeah,
Panel,
I think anything in blue does make sense to go to CD1. I mean, again, it's kind of leaning that way anyway, to some degree. If we're changing anything on anybody, like say the owner of lot A is expecting it to be commercial, I think it'd be reasonable to hit
To make it commercial?
turbulence trying to change that.
And what is Lot A, that entire, I mean, I see the little line, but where the B actually is that a separate parcel or is that all parcel A?
So that's a separate parcel, B and A are separate. I have not seen any, re-subdividing that, I've never seen any of that.
So there's two lots within that.
And they're owned by two different people or we don't know?
I mean, I can pause here
I
and
can look it up.
shoot over to the assessors, yeah. The commercial PUD, by the way, all the way to the left where the gas station currently sits and the empty lots above that, that would be highway commercial to fit in with the others.
So where it says commercial PUD right now, kind of to the
Left.
west of, or the left of the B, that is the gas station?
Yeah, the gas station, it's south part of that is a gas station, the other is an empty lot, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my bearings where everything is. Cause like I know, but it's like hard for me to visualize what's there and what's not, so, yeah.
And which, of any of this, or is it the WCCHD, that is the county?
That's the property.
Yeah, right, whatever the white lots are, that's
White, those big-
publicly owned.
Where it says R, is that where the, Bianca's place is?
No, kind of, yeah, I mean, Bianca's place is, I'm gonna zoom in on this map on the screen.
Yeah.
That's the one,
This
two,
is
3, 4,
Bianca's
5,
place.
right?
Yeah, this, right there.
Right there, isn't it?
Thank you, Mark, yep.
Yeah.
And then right above that is that empty lot along Hermit Lane.
Caleb, this is Bob. Didn't we go through that R and did something to that last year when, they were talking about subdividing that into individual lots?
Well, I know that there was a plan for that. And we did talk about that some, who the owner was, and I could get back in contact with them. I think I spoke over the phone with them. I haven't asked if he wanted to make that multifamily or not, but I know that it was gonna be subdivided into larger parcels that would be single family, not necessarily multifamily.
Correct, yeah. That was CJ Goebel came in and represented the owner on that.
Yeah, that was a while ago, and
It was probably 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah, and
I missed that meeting, so.
I asked the title company, I couldn't find it in our records, the exact, and I'm sure, Mr. Goebel might have that paperwork on what the subdivision would look like on those lots, but I couldn't find it in our records, but it does exist out there somewhere.
Right. We got a plat design for it. I remember that. It had like 9 lots in it, I believe.
I can tell you that where that B is, it is owned by a corporation called Westcliff Investments, and they're out of Frisco.
Hmm.
And it looks like they bought it directly from the estate, from the Chet Haga estate in like 2002. Westcliff Investment, West Coast spelled wrong. So I don't know who they are or anything.
Along with this again, I'm gonna loosely use the term rezoning because some is and some not. I also renumbered all the lots. It is quite a lengthy rezoning document. I don't even know if I attached in here because how extensive it was. I don't think I did, but we would be renaming these lots. Just considering, I think they could use a renaming C1A, C1B, E3. Don't make any sense at this point.
Fair enough.
Question for you. Now, from what I understood, the county is going to be trying to put their new courthouse and everything over in this area, is that correct?
I know that there was talks a long time ago on that, but as it stands now, I think you might be right. So I think I might need to go back and change C1A is in C1B. I'll have to get back to you, C1A and C1B.
So, a couple of years ago, the voters turned down the tax increase, right?
Right, I mean,
Yes.
for the new police, but that's what they were gonna put it.
But does the county own that?
I don't
Or
think they
does
do.
someone else
No,
own it?
that's the
I don't
Chet
think
Haga
they
Trust.
do either.
So,
Yeah, all of that is owned by the trust.
so if it's not, those aren't there now, then,
Yeah.
as a town, is the town's.
And also when they
The
redid
town
Fox
can use it.
Run, I believe the town already brought those in as commercial lots.
No, not off the paperwork I could find, I couldn't find anything naming those, commercial.
So there's two buildings there already, right? There's the old Pueblo Trust Bank or whatever it was, and then there's the other.
Minimal work.
Medical works, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go over those zonings to see how they fit currently in there. So, this is just for the CD one. It says purple on the top right. Please ignore that. That should say blue. I'll rename that. These are just for these blue name lots here. So going through some of the uses to which we did talk about this past year in 2024. First one, retail establishments entirely closed within a structure, personal service establishments, office buildings, bank savings and loan associations, government buildings, eating and drinking places, pre-existing buildings and their uses, single dwelling units above, below, or behind it. We have single dwelling unit above, and I'm pretty sure we did look at this and then we should have said multiple dwelling units above, below, or behind a business. So we'll have to take a look at that. Automobile service stations, repair garages, agriculture, so equipment sales and services, dance halls, light wholesale manufacturing, strip malls, sporting goods.
Any provisions for an ADU?
I should say that that's where so no, we would have to
On H?
add ADU in 10.2.2. So that's where we add that ADU in that zone district use schedule. So I'll make sure I have that down. But we do have single dwelling unit above, below, or behind a business.
Yeah, that was kind of,
Doesn't all of this kind of set itself up to be a transitional neighborhood?
Traditional.
Traditional, sorry.
Maybe, no, I would say no. Traditional neighborhood, let's just look here on the blue. Traditional neighborhood, you can come in and let's just say the building was pre-existingly commercial. You can change that into residential and be fine with it. What we're doing here is these,
strictly commercial.
the blue lots strictly have to be commercial.
Okay.
I've got another question for you. You're talking about ADU units. You're talking about putting them on commercial properties?
That's what it says now. In fact, those are already allowed with our current zoning. If you look 2 doors down to the south, the real estate building does have a ADU in the back.
Well, yeah, but it's connected to the building.
Right, but it's an ADU.
Yeah, okay, so maybe we talk about, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, maybe we can talk about the dwelling units on these commercial lots, whether we want them, don't want them, multiple square footage sizes.
Sure, just with H saying that a single dwelling unit above, below, or behind a business not to exceed 50% of the usable floor space, then are we now adding the ADU to all the rest of the things zoned that way? I mean, regardless of this little area, I mean, across the town?
No, this is specifically to CD1 classification or zoning classification. Correct?
Yes, this is specifically CD1.
I mean, I did think that there seems to be a lot of zoning, different zoning classifications. Like, why are we getting away from the already existing zoning classifications? And do we need to do that, or can we incorporate this into existing classifications?
It doesn't fit in with the existing classifications. It's not core commercial. It's not highway commercial. We don't want it to be industrial.
We cannot, if you're speaking of PUD B1 and B2.
We don't have that, that doesn't exist on this, right? Because
Well,
they're defunct.
We couldn't rezone, we couldn't rezone it because our current ordinance says
That's part of PUD.
we can't rezone it into that.
So basically what we're doing is kind of sticking with what was once PUD 1 and the B1 and B2, but now we just change it because we don't have that PUD anymore.
Yeah, I guess we're just kind of giving it a commercial zoning that allows for the pre-existing buildings and kind of expands on that a bit more. Now, I might have the wrong, because this one did say breweries and I don't see that too. But the next, our next topic is looking at the zoning codes and maybe seeing if we want to rehaul those as well, because I do know what you're talking about, that we kind of have, our zoning could need some work, so.
Well, it just seems like all these defunct PUDs that are in the town need some work. And so if those defunct PUDs, if we look back when they existed, if they were kind of set up as B1 or B2, then couldn't we create a zoning district that, I don't know the verbiage, that would still give them the same rights as when they were B1 and B2 in the PUD? And then you're able to kind of blanket that on all of these funky little PUDs sitting out there?
Isn't that kind of what we're doing?
Well, that's what I'm asking, because if we're changing stuff from what was at the time B1 and B2, and now we're saying we're gonna make that multifamily or whatever, that's totally changing it. Well, wouldn't it be easier just to go, now we have a new zone that addresses what once was B1 and B2?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is what Chris is saying as well. I think this is kind of, it does encompass that. And in this verbiage, it does, say pre-existing buildings and their uses on G. So it does encompass that, plus a little bit of PUD B1 and 2. So we can take this and move this zoning into, if we want it. But we'd have to, I think Sangre Review Park is already a current PUD. But if they ever dissolved, we could take this, put it into Sangre Review Park, which is just south of there where the auto body shop is, and copy and paste it onto that. So when we can use this for other parts, because this commercial zoning is not highway commercial nor for commercial.
Just a little weird, just a little weird thing.
You just went through this 2 years ago, didn't you? The zoning and planning, on the breakout, on what we were classifying places by single, multifamily and all that other stuff.
Right, I think
Didn't you
we
change?
worked on like the Title 10 stuff more than anything else, and that was before Caleb was here. But we never got to start to address any of the little random defunct PUDs. But I'm just wondering if when all of those PUDs came into place, if it was at that time zoned B1 or B2, rather than creating a whole bunch of additional uses or new uses, would it be easier just to look back and see what used to be or what was allowed in B1 and B2 and just make that this zone? That way you're not like taking away rights from anybody that maybe bought that property in the 80s or 90s, and you're just renaming what they're already able to do and taking it out of the PUD.
Well, that also goes, when most of these developments came into existence, they had specific uses for those properties. And now that they're not in existence anymore, then it falls back to the town to decide if they can have a multifamily or they have to have single or
Right,
or even commercial stuff, so.
I agree that it falls back to the town, but I also want to be respectful of the people that live over there that maybe bought their property 20 or 30 years ago, not ever thinking that across the street from them was going to be residential. And now if we're looking to, and I don't know if we are, I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that we're.
That's what I'm agreeing with you on that. So my thing goes back to, if you've got a subdevelopment and they have rules and regulations and all of a sudden, they don't renew them, should we even be allowing them not to do that?
Not to renew them?
Not, that they don't want to carry on as a subdevelopment, and then it falls back to the town under their rules. Maybe subdevelopments should state that, no, this is what you decided in the development, where it's going to be multifamily or commercial or anything else, instead of falling back onto the town.
And falling back onto the town would be fine if we did something 21 years ago. The problem now is we've got these lots that don't really have any categorization.
Well, if there were a subdevelopment, then they would have had.
They had it then, but they don't have it since
Maybe.
2003.
Okay, but the whole thing is, do we really want to go into, start changing things around? Or should we make them stay as they originally were designed?
Well, that's what I'm asking everyone
Yeah.
on this committee, which is rather than make a bunch of changes, if we just go back and look, because I'm pretty sure all those were either B1 or B2 at that time, or residential. So if we just were to go back and look at what B1 and B2 uses were at that time, then, and just plug those in to this new zone, you'd be able to do that across the board to all these little funky PUDs. Mark?
You know, when we, on the town board, we had to do a judgment on the zone change, and those are 3 criteria. One of them is zoned wrong. Substantial a change in land use or meets the town's desires for development. Over a period of, sounds like almost 25 years, probably the uses have changed, and so the blues tend to be commercial, yeah? Up where
they're all.
the bank is.
But it was originally zoned as residential.
Was it?
All of Viviana Parquet was residential.
No.
Who, okay, and I know you don't know this answer, but who in the world sold that property as commercial and then allowed commercial to be built there?
So
It was
that's,
the
That
free-
would, I know.
It was the free-for-all for 21 years. That's why we gotta clean it up one way or another.
So maybe if you, respecting the rights of the people who bought them 20 some odd years ago, on the other hand, our criteria says it should be appropriate for the land use, which has changed, and so we've got the commercial up top, kind of multifamily because of all the apartments there, and then we've got commercial along the highway, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what is up there looks appropriate. It looks like a great idea. I didn't know that any of this was anything other than commercial ever. But, I just am concerned, I just want to make sure that, like, where that B is, that whoever that Westcliff Investments would be on board with changing that from what they think is a commercial lot to now we're gonna make you multifamily.
I think that's the premise of all rezonings. So we really don't know until we put this out. So as long as, you know, this commission is comfortable with the zoning on these lots by the map. And then the second one would be the description of the district. As long as you guys are comfortable with that, and I can put the description of the district up now, so we can get a good look. And we can decide at that time, or at least that property owner will let us know whether or not they agree with that use.
I would say the 2 that are questionable are the purple lots. And anything that's in blue, like I said, it's pretty much going commercial anyway.
So I guess that, maybe not that we need a vote, because it's just a discussion, but maybe to at least give me some direction. The commission decides now on whether or not that should be multifamily, commercial, or residential, single-family district.
I would just, is there any way, or what does everyone think about, rather than just, you know, okay, we're gonna work on this, and so we're gonna start all the paperwork and put it all out there. Since we've got where the B and the R are really the big would be the big changes. Could you just reach out to them, you know, call them up, send them a letter, and get their thoughts on it before it turns into a big unneeded nightmare where everybody starts freaking out about things that they don't really need to?
If you'd like, if the commission would like me to do that, I could definitely go ahead and go do that if you guys would like, to point me in that direction.
Sounds like a reasonable starting point.
Well, and I think we ought to also take a look at where the counties maybe wanted to build their new courthouse.
But I'm not seeing that the county owns anything beyond their,
Right, they don't, but if you don't look down the road, that courthouse may end up down in Silver Cliff.
Yeah.
Because if that gets developed right there, yeah, I know. If that gets developed right there, where are you gonna put a courthouse if you decide to move it, you know?
I don't really know if if that ground is zoned commercial, or, I mean, maybe it's not zoned commercial right now, but everybody thinks it's commercial, and that's what we're trying to address.
So, this is John. Can I chime in here a little bit?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that C1A and C1B are being leased by the county now. They wanted to lock up those properties for future county buildings, whether it's a new courthouse or not. I mean, they're looking at making a modification to the existing courthouse. They've scaled down their ambitions quite a bit. So, and I think that's gone through, or will go through. They've spent a lot of money on a design of an addition to the existing courthouse to relieve some of the issues. But I'm pretty sure they're leasing those two lots. I think one of the things that that we have to consider here is some of these other lots, like 25 and 26, right next door, you've got residential lots. So I don't know who owns 25 and 26, maybe even 27, but maybe they're thinking that they want to build their dream home there. So we could have issues there as well. I think based on the work we've done on the master plan, we're looking for opportunities within our footprint to create multifamily zoning areas. And we have very good reason for that. In the last 20 years, real estate has become unaffordable for 80% of the residents of the two towns. Also, we've got 80% of our households are only one or two people. So we don't have housing choices that meet our household profile. And so we've been trying to remedy that. And so any chance we have to create multifamily zoning, I think, is important to the town going forward. But I agree with Christy. Let's talk to the owner of B&R and see where their heads are at. Those developers, I think you said, are in Frisco. They might have been looking at that for medical related offices because it's right next to the health clinic. I don't know what's in their head, but they also might think that, multifamily housing, yeah, we'd like to do that there. That's right within our ballpark, but we just don't know until we talk to them. I think today's conversation is, how do we clean this up, and at what point do we have public meetings and send letters to everybody? And maybe a little bit more homework before we do that is in order. John is signing off now.
If you do rezone it as traditional neighborhood, then you would probably give everybody the rights of what they expect. It would just be
Well, speaking.
possibly very mixed in of.
Is that bad? I don't know.
By today's standards, it's not the way people tend to expect things. Though, in my opinion, it shouldn't be that way. We should expect things to be mixed.
I would guess I would like to know, back when Viviana Parquet existed, how this C18 and C14 were supposed to be. Are you saying those were supposed to be residential?
All of it.
Then And I know nobody knows the answer to this question, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's kind of speaking to what Randy is saying. If this C18 and C14 are being leased, as John says, by the county right now.
C1,
It's
C1,
in-
C1A.
Oh, I can't, it just looks like C18 and I can't see so well. I don't know if I can't read it up there, but, okay, C1A and C1B. If they are, I mean, the county was looking to use that ground for their justice center, you know, when it was being passed and everything, that was the land they were looking at, so. And I don't remember anyone talking about that's supposed to be residential. So to speak to what you're saying, Randy, I kind of think that, I don't know whether it was just changed by word of mouth or whatever happened, but I kind of think that the general public thinks that that is commercial ground. And so if it were to, and so if we're gonna officially change it to commercial ground, you're allowed to have a business there, and if the business is a courthouse, it's allowed to be there.
Well, it's, C1 -2 says government buildings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so it's an allowed use.
but all the same is that we have to create a legitimate zoning one way or another, or we just continue with this
Yeah, no.
void that we've had and shouldn't have had for 20 years. They should have addressed this as soon as that PUD dissolved.
Yeah, I'm good with everything. I just would encourage you to reach out to the owners of B and R personally before it blows up into something that doesn't necessarily, it'd be a lot nicer for you to come in and say, and I've talked to the people that own B and R, and they are in support of this, than it is to have what we have had for the last few months.
Yeah, so looking, yes, Ms. Chair, I'm just looking right now on kind of my notes, from some of the direction I gathered. C1A and C1B, I would need to take a look at those lots and see if the county wants to rezone. If not, then I'll make it white on the map, but, you know, Kristen mentioned that it does show existing lots and uses. So what we can do is still rezone that as C1 or CD1, but on the map it would show up white, if that makes sense.
Because white's owned by the county.
Mhm. I mean, I can get rid of that, but again, I don't know. I'll go call them, see what they're doing with it, and then come back to you on that. I'll add ADU on this in 10.2.2, that's our zone district use schedule. I'll check the description of the lots, make sure we have the right version, the updated version, because I know we talked a little bit earlier about this. And then I'll also reach out to lot owners A, B, R to see if they're fine with the rezoning. And then if not, I can make those commercial as well. Sound right? And then, John, you also mentioned lot 25 and 26. Reach out to them and ensure that that's not, they're not thinking that's residential.
Where, like, are we talking, I see lots 26, is that at the top of the cul-de-sac on, I don't know what the name of that, something
No.
or, where am I and where are you? Oh, these up here, I'm
Yes.
down here, I'm like, what? On the Fox Run,
I zoomed in,
Yeah.
should be up there now.
yeah, I got it.
Those, this is Bob, you know, those are considered commercial, all those along Bassick. And I almost bought that lot 26. And that's what Brenda Bossy said, it was zoned for commercial. And
Where's she getting her info?
because that's right down from their office, you know, the real estate office, they're right in the middle.
I mean, logically, it makes sense, but if it's not actually that way, it's kind of, wow.
Well, I think the expectations just leaned one way and we just never officially designated it. And now Caleb's absolutely right. It's time to
Yeah.
get this cleaned up.
And there's probably, like Brenda, the real estate agent, is saying that it's commercial because she's looking at however it was supposed to have been set up in the covenants or whatever with Vivinda Parquet, but maybe that's not even correct.
Well, but
No.
in a sense, it doesn't really even
Doesn't
count
matter.
anymore because it was 21 years ago that it dissolved.
Right.
When Fox Run was created there, in that creation, it was decided that those 3 west lots would be commercial along that road. So it was Haga who had that's what was decided.
Because Haga owned, he still owns all that. And didn't he create Fox Run and all of that
Yes.
subdivision?
So those 3 lots were considered commercial. I don't think it's typical asking for forgiveness rather than permission, but that's kind of the rest of the way.
Okay, so are we good? Are we ready to go on to item B, or do we want to talk about this?
Well, quick question, is 27 where the real estate office is?
Yeah, so it'd just be 26 and 25.
Okay. So it's, yeah, it's so split right now anyway, commercial, it's beast. I think the only other thing is, you know, if one of these people want their dream home put on one of these lots, the only way to do it is traditional neighborhood.
Well, can't you always go down if it's zone commercial, you can go down to residential, you can choose, but you can't
Is that
go up.
true?
No.
That's not.
I interpreted it a long time
That's
ago.
usually the standard.
I didn't
You
think,
can
because
go
I
down,
thought
but you couldn't go up.
No, I don't.
I don't
interpret
think
that as
so.
Zoning official.
that would create so many opportunity for spot zoning everywhere. It's like
Agreed.
I'm in the middle of a commercial district, but it's weird, and now I want it to be residential. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't accept any application unless I knew the zone was, their use was specific to that zone, so that would get denied in my office. I would only let them build to, use what it's zoned for.
I mean, I think that this committee is trying to kind of almost lighten up some of the zoning regs, I mean, the ADUs with, you know, allowing more housing above, below, and behind, and working on the traditional neighborhood. So, I mean, we're trying to take into account everybody's needs without being like, it's all residential and now there's a commercial building sitting in the middle of it. So we're ready to go on to item B?
Sure.
It's tabled until.
Well, there was nothing really that needed to be voted on.
Okay.
So Caleb's gonna work on the things we discussed and then he'll put it back on the agenda when he feels it's appropriate. Item B is discussion to rehaul the West Cliff zoning codes. We are.
Yeah, that was, sorry, I don't need to speak without you calling on me, but that was what you, I know you and John mentioned it before, and I just wanted to put this up here, to kind of maybe get an expectation and maybe some direction on what you guys are wanting to look at, wanting to change. Maybe it's the whole zoning map itself. And maybe it's time. Sorry. Yeah, cool. Perfect. So this is what we have now, we have that commercial district now. Or the multifamily district. That is also not up there, but that did get included. So, I don't know, where would you guys like to start? Do we start at Title 10, Chapter 1, under our administration? I can just zoom back up real quick to give you overviews on that. Because maybe maybe it's just more than zoning we need to look at. Maybe under, our Title 1 or Chapter 10, Title 1 administration, maybe it's our violation and penalties. Maybe it's our non-conforming building and uses, Board of Adjustments, development repeal process, our zoning map, or rezoning applications, or, just the list goes on, right? And even our development zoning, right? We kind of taken from other communities, put in here. I'm just saying that I know you guys wanted to look at this, and here we are, so.
I know it was before you got here, it was right before you got here, Caleb, but we spent months and months reviewing and fixing Title 10.
Truthfully, we just wordsmithed it.
Well, we
We didn't
wordsmithed a lot of it.
Well, yeah, but we didn't really go through the meaning of it, change the meaning. We just really wordsmithed the death out of it.
Well, was there any, I guess I'd have to read through, because I don't recall there being anything that, no, this should be changed or this is inappropriate. So I couldn't, if you're asking if we can revisit Title 10 again, what do you want to do? Start at the beginning and that's what you're asking? And if we're gonna if it needs fixed, which I didn't know it did, we might as well start at the beginning.
Well, this is not, I'm not really asking, I just know I had direction from you and John. I mentioned it before, so this is why this is on the agenda.
This is John. I think there are a whole lot of jurisdictions that are looking at their, taking a new look at their zoning regulations. We don't know the provenance of what we have right now. I'm guessing somebody 30, 40 years ago copied somebody else's Title 10, or maybe even before that, and that's what we've been using. And a lot of people, jurisdictions are now taking a new look. I don't think that as a committee, we're qualified to do that. I think this is something that we need a consultant to come in and help us with. So that would be, that would be the direction I would vote for. I know, Caleb, you and I talked to one company a few months ago that did that kind of work. But I don't know where that went, but this was something we'd be looking to get a grant for, and have a consultant come in and make recommendations for changes, so that we understand what we've got and what is positive and what is getting in the way of us doing the right thing. So that's all I have to say on the subject.
So then we have one of two options if we wanted to look at a consultant. One is to ask Caleb to look and see if there's any grants available for that. And two, if not, we'll find out how much it costs, and then it has to be asked to go into the budget for 2026, because budget's already done for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we're about a week away from that getting completed, and I could put that on a long-range plan as well. I do know for a fact DOLA does offer grants as well as capacity grants to help us look at our zoning codes. I get those emails all the time. In fact, I just got one yesterday that I opened up. So I do know that they offer those services. And it's called a capacity grant, local capacity grant. So I can, talk to DOLA, see what's available, look at their times and schedules, and come back to the planning commission with one. Usually for their administrative, it's a 10% match. Administrative grants are usually 10%. Construction grants are usually anywhere from 25 to 50%. That always varies.
I don't know if the budget hasn't been approved yet, and I know this is very late and I don't like this, but I don't know if there's a way for you to say that we just happen to have this discussion at this meeting. It might be important, and maybe see if it's a 10% match. I'm thinking, okay, what would that cost? Maybe $50,000 or something at high end. Maybe could there be 5,000 somewhere in the budget that could be used for the grant, matching funds for something like this?
I'll
I
say
don't
it's
know.
too late to get that formalized in the budget, but there's a plan B if we do want to start it in 2025. If we wanted to start in 2025, I would have to look at I'd probably do it midway through the year to really after that spring and summer started to see what projects we started and which ones we might hold. And if it is truly a 10% match, let's just say rehauling might be 60 to 80 grand, we'd be paying 6 to 8 grand. I could, you guys can, have me request if you want, if that's the direction. I could come back in July, ask the board to see if we can put that in our budget and start then. So let me know if that's the direction you want, please take a vote on it and let me know. That way I can have that down on my calendar, on my whiteboard.
I sure would like to get through the master plan before we even consider revamping Title 10.
So maybe midway through next year or even 2026 is best.
Yeah, Mark had a comment or question.
Yeah. It may well be that all this is really old. And I can remember when I was on Fremont County Planning Commission, you know, Dola at the time was extolling us to get rid of block zoning and be more creative and all that, and that was like 30 years ago. But on the other hand, there's this old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm just curious, is there something outstandingly wrong with what's there now?
I just think it doesn't quite fit our current zoning, especially our commercial aspects of it. We don't have that CD1 zone right now. So we've got these areas that don't really fit into what we are currently zoned. Again, like this Vivian de Parquet, doesn't really qualify as highway commercial. It's not in the core district. So it's kind of in this limbo mode. So we either add a patch to it, which would be like the CD1, or we figure out a whole new scheme.
Yeah. Maybe what we need to do too is maybe stop and simplify it. Group these things together so we're not slung all over the place.
If you really want to simplify it, and this is a bit sarcastic, but it would work, we just call the whole town traditional neighborhood.
Or for spot zoning all over the place. Is it possible just to simplify, if we kind of need to do something between now and maybe when we could visit this, which may be the end of 2025 or into 2026? I mean, we still have these issues of these funky little defunct subdivisions all over the place, but in our zoning, like if you go to page, what page it is, 43, where it's, the headline is the A and the RSF and the RMF and the MH and the CC, all this. We do still have in here, we haven't done anything with these yet, the PUD B1 and B2. And so couldn't we just turn that PUD B1, B2 to this R or C, CD1?
I think that's pretty much what is done. I mean, you might have added or changed out some of the details like dance halls or
Yeah.
whatever, but I mean, that's essentially what this is.
Yeah,
It's taking what was allowed in the PUDs and extending it to the town's offerings.
it does kind of fall into PUD B1 more, a little bit of B2 with some of the auto body shops as well.
Right. I mean, that would be a less expensive option to take at this time. And I don't know until, like, I agree with you, Chris, until we get through the master plan, there might be things that are way more pressing than this, that $6,000 or $8,000, which is a chunk of change in a town of this size. Maybe that money needs to be used for something, more important.
Could we get a clarification then? Do we plan on having a CD2, or is the CD1 really a combination of the B1 and B2?
So I'm gonna answer that and then put my manager hat on and answer some long range plans. Some questions that might be out there. If we wanted a CD2, we could. CD1, that was just kind of a blank. It just means commercial district 1. So it does give the opportunity, if the town wanted to make a second, third, or fourth. Right now, as I see it, I don't think we have the need for it. Maybe the CD2 can encompass more of the PUD-B2, which is heavy manufacturing. And that could maybe go down on San View Park, ACE, and below ACE. So that could probably fit there. But we also have heavy industrial and commercial. Now, but, taking what John said, and if I'm gonna throw my long range planning hat, if we want to take a look and do CD1, which I already have some direction on, I still have to come back to you on that. So we'll come back on that on January, and I'll give you some of those answers. We are doing the master plan, and I would say we're getting closer to finishing that. Maybe we're about halfway to 3/4. So I would assume strongly that by mid-2025, the planning commission is going to be done with the master plan, and it should be to the board's feet at that point to mess with, which frees the planning commission up to do some more things. Now, we can jump the gun and get into CD1 and go through that, but if we're gonna go into CD1 and we're gonna hire a consultant afterwards, it probably just makes sense just to hire a consultant and go down that route. Now, again, it's not impossible for me to request to the board in 2025, if that is what you guys would like me to do, to take some funding out of something that either be in our general fund or capital improvements fund.
Alleyways, huh?
Take one of those out and apply it to something else. So let me know that now, if that is our plan, is to get some external help on our zoning code. Let me know that now, and I might be able to take something out within a day or this week, shoot that over back to the board.
Well, I could say right now
So I can get that to
that
Mayor later.
once we get the master plan approved by the DOT, we still have to implement that master plan. So throwing this kind of scale of a project into that is just like taking that master plan and throwing it in the trash.
So maybe if this helps, we put some wording in the master plan. And I don't want to get too off topic, but this is talking about codes, so maybe we put something about these rehauling of the codes into the master plan by the time that's ready, therefore gives us some direction then. I mean, is that,
I just, yeah, but
That's probably the way we'd have to do it.
Yeah, I think.
Because otherwise, like I said, we're just gonna throw all that work.
So how does this then, I mean, talking about CD1, then we're talking about consulting, but we're still talking about Vivienda, or we did talk about Vivienda Parquet, and we kind of, in order to address Vivienda Parquet, we have to do something with the CD1. And now are we saying that we don't want to do that until there would be a consultant to come in?
No, I think we still have to do the patch one way or another.
I mean, that's up to you guys. You tell me what to do. I can give you, my advice,
I
and
mean,
I would advise that if I can come back to you, give you the information that you wanted, because you already gave me that direction. But I do think if we just put some wording in the master plan that talks about rehauling the zoning code, I go to the board midway through next year. Again, you have to direct me to do the second part. If you want me to go to the board around January or July, around July, to talk to the board about taking some funding and rehauling our codes, I can do that. But give me, that's my suggestion, give me that direction so I can execute that.
how much of that load would go onto the consultant firm?
It depends whatever you put out in the RFP. That, I mean, whatever, how much load do you want to give them?
All of it.
There you go.
Get the master plan, we'll send a consultant.
Well, no, we would do the master plan, but I'm talking about the basically
They could
revamping
just
the
take
Title
Title
10.
10.
Well, yeah, a lot of municipalities also give work to consultants for master plans as well, but yeah, just on the zoning codes as well. So if you guys think that's good direction, if you have anything else for me that you think that you would like me to do, let me know now, so you give me that direction.
I am in favor of it, and we're not voting, we're just getting a consensus. I'm in favor of you putting the verbiage in the master plan that we can work on this, later, and that made me a consultant.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. 'Cause
Where's Bob?
Yes, I agree.
So,
Thank you. I have direction. That's all I needed.
so are we good to move on to item C? Which is discussion on affordable housing ordinance.
Yeah.
Now that's stressing me out now, what we just did with item B.
Yeah, right, just funny how these things go. Have to zoom down. Right, well, item B, or our discussion on item B kind of gives me directions for this one as well. But there's a problem with me loading sorry, let me get to that. I had the screen paused for a moment.
What page?
I'm scrolling right now. I think it starts at page 80.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Same share. Okay, so considering our last discussion, maybe I should have put this at the end or the beginning. But considering our last discussion, you know, we can go this route as well with this ordinance. This is our ordinance though, this is not a rezoning. So if you wanted this to be, you know, let's just say in future, I go to the board and ask them for some consulting services. We wanted this housing and that, consultant services, I'll throw that into the RFP as well to ask them for this, but we passed this rezoning. Now we are sitting on this affordable housing document here that I got from either Crested View or Mount Crested View, one of the two municipalities.
Oh, yeah, it says Mount Crested View.
Thank you. So I asked them for their affordable housing ordinance. That was a pretty big ask from citizens and so this is what we have. I hope, I mean, we don't, Mr. Chair, this is solely up to you. We want to get too deep into this. Maybe this is for you guys to take a look at, spend some time on, have recommendations, come back to me with them. Or give you an opposite. You want me to rehaul all of it and apply it to us, but this is quite a lengthy document. And we can also include this in that consultants' services.
Caleb, are these your highlights in the document?
Yeah, yes, sir. I did not get through everything. I made some highlights and maybe some additional notes, but that was just to get some clarification on, asking other municipalities on their zoning or on their code of ordinances. And this, this gets into, a whole nother thing. If we're gonna have an affordable housing ordinance, and we're gonna have affordable housing, looking on the long range, and down the line, I think I would recommend that we do a few things. One, we have a housing board. And if we don't have a housing board, the county has a housing board, and we request to place a town representative on that to help them. Maybe let the county kind of deal with that, and each town has a representative on that county board. That kind of gets in the weeds a little bit, but it helps with some of the administration on our side.
Caleb, do you know the provenance of this document? Did they create it themselves? Did they have professional help? Did they just copy somebody else's? How did it get developed?
Yeah, I called their building and zoning official on this, and they did make this sign themselves. They didn't copy it. They did have some external help, so they worked together with themselves. They have a housing committee, and that they, had some help with an outside source on this as well. So this is definitely something that could, be a part of that RFP if we wanted to look at our Title 10.
Now, if I may, when we're saying community housing,
This
define
is,
that.
no, again, this is from another community.
I understand. But the term community housing as used in this document,
Right.
And maybe that's
There-
just not a correct terminology, it
There-
should be changed.
Their definition is shall mean units restricted for occupancy by eligible households that meet size, for sale price, rental requirements, and that are deed restricted in accordance with a covenant approved by the town council of the town of West Cliff. I think some words correct.
deed restricted is kind of a key factor in that.
Mhm. So what do you all think about this? I mean, what would you like me to do with this? What do you think? Piece of direction.
I was, looking at other communities, it kind of gives an okay frame of reference, but we are not those places, and I don't want a piecemeal document based on them, I mean, if we're gonna actually at some point down the line look at a consultant, I'd sure rather get someone in here that's gonna be able to tailor things to what our community is and what we need. And then I also thought that you were using the COG as the housing department.
Yeah, again, so that, I did just pull from another community, so I just gave us a kind of a blank, or I wouldn't say blank, or at least somewhere to start, but yes. That's not solidified yet, but I have talked to Max, and that would be the direction I recommend us to go. I mean, and again, if this is something you guys want in a consultant services, to not even take a look only at Title 10, this could fall under Title 10, it could fall under another title. But if you wanted it, you know, to fall under a certain consultant services, I can include that in
Well,
in
I'm
the
gonna-
RFP we request to the board to get that done.
I'm gonna concede that I did not read this part,
I didn't either.
so
I could.
I think I need to catch up before I could even.
Yeah.
Cause I like, to me, just the term community housing makes it sound like the town owns it and is, you know, and that just doesn't jive with what with what I was expecting anyway.
I'll chime in on this. I think it's very much like the zoning. I don't think we're capable of putting together an affordable housing ordinance without outside help. And I agree with Christie, it has to be about our footprint, our town of West Cliff. Much like, a marketing study for housing would be exclusively for West Cliff, or a housing needs assessment is exclusively for our footprint. So those are things that consultants do that would be meaningful for our town. Reading somebody else's work, I think it's good background material for us, but I wouldn't try to take that and turn it into our ordinance.
Yeah, but I'd still like to
Yeah.
go through this to even understand what the scope is. And I'm also a little remiss of just handing everything off to other people.
Well, and a consultant doesn't mean that we do what they say.
No, but sure would want to be able to get our money's worth out
Right.
of spending that.
Right. Which maybe in an RFP, it does have to talk about working with our planning commission and our board of trustees or our town employees to come to an outcome. It's not just some consultant comes in here, we drop a fat check on them, and we gotta say, okay. Mark, sorry.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I think a lot of these big documents, I mean, I'm not on the planning commission, so I don't have it, but a summary of some of the salient points would be a good thing. For example, in the town, in talking about our footprint, it seems to me there's two opinions about what this means, you know, like the mayor talks about worker housing. A lot of people are afraid that the town's intention is to create something where we're subsidizing the renters and people will come here because they're attracted by that. The other approach was we're trying to reduce the cost of doing business so that what is constructed can be affordable. So those are two big deals. And it strikes me as they're political and practical, and they're part of defining what you said. What is the footprint of this town?
I think I can sum that up of what our goal is, just from the discussions we've had, is we want to create a better cohesion between the residents and the businesses, where the businesses support the residents and the residents can support the businesses. Right now, we don't have that, and one of the stumbling blocks is the price of workforce housing.
I guess I'm saying.
It's not that we plan on subsidizing the individuals to, you can't afford to live there, so we're gonna make it and pay for you to afford to live here. That's not what we're trying to do.
No, I know that, but I don't know that the public does.
I understand, but I'm just trying to give that summary or that blanket summary to where maybe from that, we can give that definition to the public preemptively.
I mean, I guess, and I'll shut up here, those are the kind of things I think need to be nailed down.
You're right, you're absolutely right, because
And then the consultants can work with that and offer options. You go this way, that way, this way. But I think, Chrissy, you're right, that the town has to decide something like that.
And as we're working on the master plan, that
vision, I think, is coming together a little clearer, and then we'll be able to present that to the Board of Trustees, which you guys may say, no, we don't like that, and ship it right back to us to start over, but that's kind of what we're trying to get to, is to help through the master plan, make that clear, but then the reality that everyone, residents, everyone needs to understand that, I mean, across the nation, housing is not affordable right now, and communities have to address that in some capacity. And I'm not saying we have to subsidize everything or anything, but we have to start thinking more creatively. And it's not just us. I mean, it's communities across the nation. And I think that the day of the traditional single-family home, you know, that's not traditional anymore. And you talk to people in Caleb's age group and younger, and they're like, what? So, you know what I mean?
Part of the problem that's caused that is everybody's just off-puts the problem and lets somebody else deal with it. Where the hope is, I mean, unstated hope, I guess, is that, well, let's address it ourselves and let's take care of business. Let's make something happen that benefits our community, do for ourselves mentality.
And benefits our community and allows us, I feel, to keep our community, like to keep a community feel where it's not like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use Salida as the example. You drive into Salida and it's like, what's that on the right side of the road? Oh, that's where all the work lives, the help lives. And oh, we don't want that. We don't want that here. And so how do we, as a planning commission, as a board of trustees, make sure that we're able to.
But in the same sense, if you don't have the businesses
Right.
to support the town, everybody in the town is gonna go down the hill to conduct business, and eventually it gets taxing. I mean, it costs more to drive, it costs more to, you know, so we gotta find that balance.
Yeah, it's a heavy task.
It is. You know,
So
Salida,
Yeah,
they-
we have been doing, we've already done some things. We know that we have a 0 vacancy rate for rentals. So we don't have enough rental properties to have a healthy vacancy rate, which according to the housing needs assessment is about 5%. So how do you do that? You build more rental units. So what can we do as a town to create the opportunity to build more rental units? One thing we did is pass the ADU ordinance. The ADU ordinance also it can't be done in a vacuum. Round Mountain Water currently says if you've got a detached ADU, you need to buy a new tap, which basically economically kills the possibility of detached ADUs in our residential areas. So, and I brought that up with Mark. I don't know if you've discussed that at all in your Round Mountain board meetings, but that's an obstacle. We created an opportunity to and an ordinance to allow people to build ADUs on existing single-family residential properties, which is kind of a low-hanging fruit for creating more rental units. But we still have that Round Mountain policy as an obstacle that needs to be dealt with. So we're doing things already in the planning commission. That was something that came up as part of the rewrite of the master plan, and Caleb I think did a great job of creating an ordinance that works for our footprint for Westcliff. Now, whether people are actually going to start doing that and creating those rental units that provide additional income on their properties remains to be seen.
I'm gonna need to speak on this just a bit, but I'm gonna wait till probably public comment to speak on the ADU code, so.
Well, going back to the Round Mountain
It's up to you.
water tap, I mean, if we take all of the revenue from a rental ADU or whatever and apply it just to the value of the tap, it would take, what, 3-4 years to pay off? And that's not practical to take all of that value, because you've got all your other costs associated with. So yeah, that value for a detached ADU is it's not surmountable.
So I don't want to get,
Yeah, I don't
And-
think you need to wait for public comment to speak.
well, I don't want to go off topic on what the, well, if you allow me to, I will. So I did meet with Dave, on the ADU codes, and there are a few things that we recommended to the board as a planning commission that got denied. Well, that got approved, and then I spoke with Dave on some things that maybe would help them out. I think this is an opportunity for both Round Mountain and the town to work together. But there were some provisions that I needed to fix on that accessory dwelling unit codes. And I think I have some of it here, but I'm not going to show it. I'm just gonna lightly talk over it. One of those changes was, instead of 2/3 of the house, I am gonna be recommending to the board, based off my talk with Dave Schneider, that the dwellings go back to being no larger than 449 square feet and no less than 200 square feet. And the reason for that is because it's a little easier to make it a 2-bedroom ADU if it's 2/3 of 3,000 square foot home, and a little bit harder if it's not. So I do apologize to you all. I did talk with Dave, so we can be on the same terms administratively to reduce the amount of square footage for the ADU, and I will be talking to the board on that. But if you do not like that, please show up to the board meeting.
It's on the agenda, right?
Yes, please show up to the board meeting
December
to
agenda?
protest.
So between 200 and 400,
To 205, 550.
550.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Which then bumps up against our minimum for a house.
yeah, and Ms. Chair, I don't mind speaking on that, but I also want to ensure that we do stay on topic, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, we're basically, unless we have anything else we need to discuss on the affordable housing ordinance, it kind of seemed like we were gonna wait and see how that comes out after the master plan to revisit that, unless I am totally wrong.
I think the ADU needs a adjustment and refinement now because people are already trying to take advantage.
Well, the ADU, but that's not actually on, that wasn't even on our agenda today.
Oh,
This
God,
is
what?
affordable, item C was the discussion of the affordable housing ordinance. The ADU, we already as a committee have made our recommendation, and I guess that's on you guys to talk about in the meeting next week or something. So,
Well, we already adopted that ordinance, correct?
I don't want us to tell them to get sued, so we have to stay on track, because we get sued.
we have to stay.
I am recommending to you, Mr. Chair, that we stay on track.
Well, we're done, then, does anybody have any more, issue, or any more discussion for anything on our new business? Items, item C, discussion on affordable housing ordinance.
I don't.
So
I don't.
if we don't, then we can go on to public comment. Which if you'd like to talk about this, fine, but if you don't think it's appropriate for you to talk about it here, and you're encouraging the planning commission to show up to the town board meeting on the 17th, is that the date?
No, it's
Then,
10th, isn't
It's
it?
on the 10th this month,
oh, it is the 10th.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, this coming
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, good to know. Then that's fine, you can say that.
Thank you. I apologize. I don't, but that is the gist of it, yes. I apologize to you all. I should have reached out to you, but things have just been so hectic. I just got back from vacation, and Christmas is coming up, Thanksgiving, it's been quite busy, but
It's always on our website too, all the info and the packet.
So the BOT meeting is on the 10th at 5:30.
yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Starting that.
Does anybody else have any public comment then? If not, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Motion been made by Chris and seconded by John to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
I.
Opposed? Okay, great.
Thanks, everybody.
Back to the back, the hot tub there, Bob, I apologize.